Hello y'all, now I need to figure out why video capture device is not working. So let me deactivate, activate. Now it's working, okay. Something was laggy a bit, let me bring a bit more light to my cave. Well, okay, slightly more light. So today I will continue on the Black Knight. Okay, too much light. I will continue on the Black Knight as I have been doing for past, I don't know how many streams, 4 or 5 already or something like this. One brighter, yeah, can be. So this is the plan for today also. The last time when, no, it's brighter but it's also laggy. I don't want it to be laggy. Exposure lower, okay. Also last time when I have finished the stream, I was like looking at this fella, trying to figure out what is kinda like working for me and what is not working. And definitely the shield is not working for me because just the shape of the teeth is extremely odd, and when I just looked at it, it basically looked like this for me. So I was like, yeah, like I need to change it because it does look stupid. Yeah, it basically is this emote. Like this straight lines are just kind of like lazy and kind of boring. So I felt what I need to do with it is all layers is to kinda go with something more like this type of a shape and to kinda like change stuff in here so it will look a little bit more kind of like interesting. So let me draw with the red colors so you will know what I mean. So this shape will go more like this and this will go more like this, or maybe like this. I will have to experiment with it for a moment because at this moment the shape is just boring and it's just kind of odd looking. I don't really enjoy it, but yeah, this is planned maybe for today. And also I thought maybe I will make the legs, like this area, a little bit thinner because now I feel it's a little bit too thick, but we will see on this. Maybe if I add a little bit more of the background, then maybe it will be okay. But yeah, let me start with the shield. So basically what I will do is I will just select it, make a duplicate out of it. So I will always be working on a duplicate, because if you are not working on a duplicate, there is a chance you will mess entire thing up. So I like removed the shield, separated it, and now I'm doing everything on a separate layer. And also I just noticed if I go to a full screen mode, it is actually better, because now if anyone will write anything, like you don't need to see any of the layers that I have in here, which is kinda like, yeah, it makes sense. And I also prefer to work on in full screen mode. So let me just go to Liquify. If you want to be able to see a Liquify, I need to turn on a display capture, because without it, it won't work. So Liquify is really cool because Liquify basically allows you to like really easily modify the stuff that you already have. So for example, if I just select this shield and then filter, well, not vanishing point, then filter Liquify, we'll also bring this to the center, because otherwise it will like maintain the entire screen proportion. And Liquify is really cool because it allows you to make like a really quick adjustment. So for example, changing a geometry of something is really easy. So I don't need to like overpaint everything like from the scratch, paint over everything from scratch. I have like more control of the things that are already done. So I can kind of change the expression of a shield without like destroying everything. And if I feel that something is just not working, there is this like reconstruct tool. So I can just paint over everything that I have done and reconstruct it to the original state, which is kinda cool. What I want this shield to be a little bit more like angry, just a little. So not a big change, but this will actually be a bit more drastic thing to do with all the teeth and stuff like this. And I kind of wonder how I have not noticed it previously, because it looks really odd for like a long period of time at this moment. So I feel I should have noticed it earlier, but well, I did not. So yeah, now I have to kind of like readjust everything, so it will look a bit more evil or a little bit more angry, or yeah, whatever. But this shape, even this shape looks like starts to work, like works a bit better. So yeah, most likely I will have to still draw on top of everything. So let me go back to the Photoshop view, because it still looks kinda odd. So on the new layer, I will simply just paint with what I have, so the entire thing has more chances to actually look good. And I will be using mostly like a normal circle, or maybe some textured brushes, but not too many. So I won't be like relying on cool textures and everything. I kind of want to render everything by hand a little bit more with this one. And also I decided that after finishing like the drawing, I want to animate it, so to make like this 2D idle type of an animation, because recently I have seen the painting done by Johann Szepacz and how he animated one of his artworks, and I was like, wow, shit's cool. And I like wanted to do it like using, for example, Spine application or something like this. But yeah, most likely this will be the entirely different stream, because I thought like, why not? I can also try to animate this fella on a stream to see how it will go. I can imagine it's not the easiest thing to do, but I also can imagine animating like 2D stuff in a program that is basically made for the animation. It's not like extremely hard, so I do believe I should be able to do this live. And also, as always, if anyone has any questions or whatsoever, feel free to ask them. If you have any paintings that you would like me to look upon, also feel free to send the links, more preferably in Twitch, so I can like copy them without many problems. And if not, if you just want to like have a partner for drawing, feel free to mute me, blast some music, and just draw alongside with me, so the time will be spent nicely. I kind of feel those teeth should go like this direction more. So I kind of have the shape of the school, like the shape that I would like it to have, like in my head, but it's kind of like having a word on the end of your tongue. Like, you know what is the word, but you are not sure how to say it, how to pronounce it. And in this case, I feel exactly the same, but with the imaginary. I have like the idea on how I want it to look like, but I just cannot like really grasp to it visually. So I'm not entirely sure what do I want to do with it. And I was also thinking, what about I will make? No, I'm not making like one huge teeth. But yeah, this was like basically, this was the idea for it. And also this edge needs to be like golden. And so it's kind of like a hidden type of a thing in here happening, but as you can see in here, there's like teeth, one teeth, teeth, two teeth with the golden edge, and then teeth, two again, kind of like some sort of a proportion is happening in here. It was not done on purpose, it was an accident, but yeah, I think it looks okay-ish. Now I also see this surface needs to be darker, and the bottom surface needs to be brighter. And today I believe I can stream for a bit longer period of time again, because I do feel like painting this guy. I kind of want to start wrapping him up, because we are getting closer and closer to the finish, which is fine. And then I will have to like spam with him everywhere. Well, so yeah, I feel it starts looking a bit more proper. And also this frontal teeth, I do believe this guy should go like this, and this guy also should go like this. So they will actually point forward a bit more. I might be wrong, but I won't know if I won't try. But still I feel, and now it looks slightly better, not much, but at least the emote type of a shape we got rid of. The eye socket kinda does not work with me anymore. I feel it is a little bit like too big. I feel like it should end like here and be a little bit more open. A little bit more closed. So by closing it, actually, like, I mean, it can be like flattened in here like it is concave, but I feel like closing it a bit more, or maybe like sharpening the edge of it, will give it a little bit more like this angry type of a look to it. And also because this guy is going like in here, using Australian accent, I feel we can get a nice flow of a geometry in here. So it's like have this, let me draw this separately. It's like in here, here, then it goes over it. So this area I like. It looks interesting for me, in my opinion, and it also flattens the nose. And I was not really a huge fan of like this protruding like nasal bone, I do believe it is called. So yeah, it solves a bit more problems than I like with the painting, like more problems than I thought I have. So yeah, a bit more of a reflection in here. And those teeth look damp, so they could get some work on them. But yeah, other than that, I feel it is starting to look relatively okay-ish. So yeah, I was also thinking about like giving this edge to every teeth, so it will look more like that they are actually imbued into the shield. So it's not like a random placement of the teeth. Yeah, I feel it looks okay-ish. Just needs to be darker on this one side that is not like from the side of the sun. And everything should be fine and dandy now. From other stories, tomorrow I'm going to get my ear checked again, like by a specialist, by otolaryngologist, because as some of you might know, I have my eardrum ruptured in my left ear. So yeah, I need to check if everything is healing correctly. And possibly I will be returning back to a gym, because I have not been training for like, I don't know, a really long period of time at the moment, because I wanted to avoid any type of a risk that is associated with like working out with like the high pressure and everything in the ear. So yeah, I had a bit of a break. The doctor told me originally that I can go to the gym, and I went once, and it felt odd. Like it was not like I had any problems with balance or whatsoever, but it just felt odd. Like I think I was kind of overthinking it, like the injury, and it kind of was like taking away my focus, and it's really hard to like enjoy a workout if you cannot really focus on it, because you are like worried that something like will pop in your head and that you will mess up your hearing even more. So I decided to take a break from like working out, and I kind of feel rusty already. Like I think it was, if we won't consider the one workout that I have done before, like after the injury, to see if I can work out or if I cannot work out, I have not been working out for like a month at this point, and it makes me feel really, really rusty, because it's basically like my second hobby in a sense. I really enjoy moving and I really enjoy working out, and if I can do this, I am getting kind of moody. And also my sleep schedule again went to complete shit, because I cannot like get tired with the gym basically. And if I cannot get tired with the gym, I have a little bit too much energy, and without any problems whatsoever, I can go to sleep at like 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, and then I sleep for like 7-8 hours, and I wake up in the afternoon, which what kind of sucks. I don't really enjoy waking up this late, because it does not matter what I do. I like eat a breakfast or whatever, or a dinner at this point, and I feel like the entire day has already passed. And I know it's not like this, but my productability, my being productive, is basically dying this way. So I'm really, it's just not working for me anymore. I try to like convince myself that it can work, but yeah, and to some degree it was working, but nah, not anymore. I feel like I need to fix my sleep schedule at least a bit. And tomorrow most likely we'll do just this, because like today I need to go to sleep earlier because of the doctor tomorrow, and it's relatively in the morning for me, because at like 10 in the morning I have to be at a doctor's office. So yeah, which sounds kind of funny, but well, this is the life of being like working kind of as a freelancer in a sense. And also for the things that I am doing, on the legs, the lower I go, the less I will care about all the details and polishing and everything. I kind of want to keep everything uniform. So for example, hello Morta, I kind of want to keep everything uniform, but because the focal point is like around, I mean it is on a face, it means the lower I go, the smaller amount of details I need to do. So basically, like if I were to explain it visually, I would say like 100% of effort goes here. So this is like 100. And this area will be like 75%. This basically will be like 50%. This again, this will be like 75, because this is like a big thing. It's important. And in here I will go with like 25%, maybe something like this. So this is like the general idea for the detail distribution. And usually approaching everything this way makes painting a bit more fun, because you don't really need to go like all out on every single like place that you are going to paint. You can like focus more on certain places and just keep a little bit more loose on the other places, and most likely it will improve the quality of the entire painting, because you will also maintain the like visual rest and point of interest in your painting. So basically your eye will naturally be guided to more interesting places and won't be tired by looking at tons of details everywhere, which happens a lot if you have like a painting that is basically 100% rendered like a photography, like from top to the bottom. It can be a bit tiring if you are like trying to look at it for like an elongated period of time, because there is just too many things to analyze. Usually if you are like looking at an image, you want your eye to be able to take a break, kinda, to get some rest, to have some rest on a painting. So yeah, but mostly I'm trying to like rework all the small details. For example, in here, I can add this like small detail. I can remove this like outline. You can just generally rework some highlights. And yeah, the schools will also be a bit harder to do because of their placing and the geometry. They are not the most obvious type of geometries that I'm going to have in here, so yeah. But it's still good to keep in mind your light source, so all the small edges like this one will go noticed. Usually it's a bit annoying, at least for me, if there is like no consequence in light and shadow, shapes and everything. But well, if you are also looking at something for like 10 hours, it's really easy to skip those type of details because you are just getting used to seeing all the mistakes. And this also kind of correlates to the thing of like having a more practice and less practice. The more practice you have, the longer you can look at one painting and still like see all the errors, like everything what is wrong with it. The newer you are to the painting, the easier for you is to like accidentally ignore all the errors and mistakes, because you are just not like trained, like your eyes are not trained properly to see all the errors. And this is why really often a lot of like beginner artworks have fuckload of mistakes, because they just don't see them, and a lot of beginners also are afraid to ask for critiques, or they are just unable to like apply a critique to their painting, and like nothing bad with it, and it just happens every single time. So yeah. And also what I want to do in here, I still want to kind of like make those areas a bit brighter, but I kind of want to also maintain this highlight type of a thing that I was like talking previously on a previous stream, where the highlight are kind of looking like this. It's like this thin line of a highlight happening in some areas. So for example, in here it will be like just a point, and I kind of want to introduce a bit more of a saturated tones to this area, so it won't be like this moody. So the shadows will still have some like saturation in them, which is really important. If you want your gold to look good, then the shadows need to be a little bit more rich. It also creates a nice contrast between colors. What is a win-win for both parties? I'm still not sure if I want to keep the cloth or if I don't want to keep the cloth. At this moment I will leave it as it is, but I think maybe in the future I will like try to remove it. So we can just look at it. I feel the jawline, the jaw of the shield needs to be smaller. So let me select this part. I feel it is too big right now. And this is what is making the problems. Because I don't like the fact that like the bottom part is like closing over the top part. I prefer that it's even, or that it is even smaller, or it could be even longer. Like maybe slightly longer will do the trick. Even like only the top part looks kind of cool if it was the entire shield. And yeah, maybe for the other like night I will do this type of a thing. I also started modeling in 3D this guy. I decided that I finally want to like, this will be this painting where I also learn how to use the ZBrush. And I started modeling him in ZBrush. It is a lot of fun, but it is also really hard. ZBrush is still really hard for me. And I expect it to take me like, I don't know, 80 to 100 hours to make like a model out of this fella. Because I am like trying to relearn all the tools and everything. And basically to learn like a fuckload of new tools. I want to sneeze, but I can't. I hate it. But I feel this is like the guy that will basically teach me every single tool in a ZBrush, because there are a lot of like overlapping, sharp shapes, organic shapes, hard surface shapes. Like basically everything is in there. And also, like longest time ago, I bought a tutorial about making like a dwarf warrior, which is basically like a tutorial for ZBrush, like how to model in ZBrush and how to make your models look nice. And I was always like, okay, I need to start it, but I never had any solid like thing to work on in 3D, and I did not want to. I wanted to avoid making the same thing the human rad did in this tutorial, because human rad did the tutorial. So I felt like, okay, maybe this guy, because I always wanted to make like a more complex illustration with this fella, like with those huge ass monsters. But again, painting him again 5 times is a no cash money out of it. So I don't really want to paint him 5 times separately on one painting. So I felt like, okay, maybe this is like a perfect opportunity to basically create. Let me open a navigator for me only. This is a perfect opportunity to like learn ZBrush, and even if I will make a really basic model in a sense, so even if it will be like really clunky, but at least the proportions and like some of the details will be correct. I don't really care if the model will be like proper in terms of like having a perfect geometry and everything and being the most optimized type of a thing. I think it still will save me a lot of time and will make the entire thing a bit better, because in the 3D I also plan to make the this fella in several versions. So he will have like a spear, or he will also have like double swords, or like one giant sword. Because again, if you are like a blood knight, I can imagine you are not only limited to like shield and a sword. So I can imagine these guys will be kind of picky on the type of weapons they want to like kill the enemy hero with, which is more than 5, which is cool. And also for the future, maybe like the Steel Lord or whatever, I can basically like create a render of this fella, change the color scheme of a render to basically make it fit the new monster, and then I could just redesign it, having a really nice 3D base as a starter, which also is a cool thing. It's also is a cool idea to consider, because this will allow me to design most likely in a better quality, really much faster, because a good 3D render can save you like fuckload of hours of work, or even like serving as a good reference. So I think it's a good idea. It might not be the most efficient way of working at this moment, but again, this challenge is only for me to like learn and to like develop as an artist. So the more I can learn while doing this fella, the better it is, the better the purpose it serves as a challenge, which again is more than fine with me. So let me grab the highlight from the chest, because this area actually will be relatively bright, because it's basically facing upward to the light source, which is what I am interested in. And stuff like this just makes the entire painting much easier. So yeah, and also I kind of feel like nowadays, if you really want to like produce a good amount of high quality artworks, 3D is kind of inevitable because the projects are getting more and more complex. The more and more stuff needs to be done for the projects. Even for like mobile games are like crazy complex these days. Like the amount of art that a mobile game needs is like crazy. I'm really surprised to see how much effort goes into designing and producing the mobile game. And it won't get easier because the phones will get like more powerful only, basically. And with more power, it's like huge responsibility of good designs. Soon, basically, a phone will be like a portable gaming platform. So yeah. And also because like even the internet is like everywhere more and more powerful. So for example, connecting stuff like this NVIDIA Shield or whatever, like the stuff that allows you to kind of like download the processed image from the web. I think this is how it works, like to compute everything on like the servers. And with all the techniques like this DLSS and whatever that basically greatly increases the quality of games by lowering their requirements. I think we are really close to see stuff like this being like on a mobiles. So you will actually most likely soon have relatively powerful tools at your disposal in your hand. And for the debate of playing on phones, I feel it's fine. Like, of course, it's hard to call yourself a gamer if you are like only playing mobile. But at this moment, also, there are not many games that basically allow you to play, like to grind, like properly on games. I used to play for like over 2 years of Beat Heroes, something like this. But at some point, the game got like not even ridiculously hard, but the drop rates in that game are like, to put it simply, are fucking stupid. For example, you can like take 8 or 10 rides per day or something like this on some sort of a dungeon. If you don't have friends or if you are not in a guild, there's no way that you are also going to make a ride that is like beneficial for you in terms of items that you can find. So this is like one thing. It's absolutely depending on the guild that you are in, and if you are not in a guild, then tough luck. And for example, I do believe a drop rate for like legendary items is around 1 for 80 raids or something like this. So basically one each 10 days. And to upgrade one legendary, you needed to have like points, like let's say 500 points. And selling one legendary item in a shop will basically give you like 50 of these points. So it basically can, if you are playing for free, it could take you like a month or something like this to like upgrade one item or something like this, if you are playing every single day without like missing a spot. And of course, if you buy those premium things that will like increase the drop rate by 10,000% or whatever, then the game makes sense. But well, then it's like pay to win basically. So for free, it was like no, it just made no sense to play. So if they make a game that will basically allow you to just play, to enjoy the game without like just this pay to win type of a thing, then mobile gaming can be really, really cool. And also when I was like reading some reports, like really longest time ago, and even like recently I haven't like looking at them because I was talking with a friend of mine about similar topic. Mobile gaming actually takes around 63% of global market, and PC and consoles are only like 10% or something like this of the revenue of the games. Like almost all revenue comes from mobile gaming. So yeah, vast majority of players prefer to actually, I mean, maybe not prefer to mobile game, but the studios earn via mobile gaming a lot. Which again is fine because again this is like a small portable console that you have in your pocket. And also, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them, because soon I am going to lose all the ideas for the topics that I could cover, and then I will be just boring and sitting in silence. And recently, when I have been watching a tutorial about this like dwarf to model him in ZBrush, one of the highest rated feedbacks on the tutorial was like, don't be silent, just talk, because you can it's just boring to watch someone like do art and to not talk at all. So if you have anything that you are interested in, that you would like me to cover or whatever, feel free to ask. So yeah, or I could just talk about the things that I'm painting, it's also fine. So for this school, what I also find kinda interesting at the moment is the fact that I thought I am going to have much more trouble with it, because the geometry is relatively complex on this fella. But now when I am doing it, I feel it is much easier than I expected it to be, which is kind of a nice sign to have. Like, I kind of feel that the entire thing is getting easier and easier, which basically means I am improving. And if there is one thing that is really rewarding, if you are like drawing or learning how to draw or how to paint or whatever, is the feeling of accomplishment and the feeling of actually evolving as an artist, to like feeling the improvement. It's a really nice thing to have. And it's also much easier to do if you are like constantly trying to make harder and more complex artworks each time. And in this case, it kind of went this way, because every single time when I was like randomizing some sort of a monster, I tried to kind of include something a bit more like complex or specific to this monster that I could like utilize to learn from. And so, for example, on a skeleton, I decided that I really want to like kind of nail down the geometry and light and everything first. And it turns out it was like one of my highest like rated artworks on Reddit. Because I also do post on Reddit. If anyone is like on Reddit, just feel free to also follow me there. So yeah, I feel that this entire challenge is slowly starting to pay off with the skills and everything. And it also again is really helpful for me in the workplace, because in the work I can like kind of test and learn a lot of new things. And in here I can kind of put them to the trial, and then this trial also is like really helpful at work, because I don't really have a lot of time, for example, to experiment with rendering while at work, but in here I can like experiment with every single thing for as long as I wish, which again is like really beneficial. I feel this leg starts to look nice. And I do believe soon I will also go for this hand, and maybe today I will even like manage to go for the sword, or I actually will go for the sword after like doing this fella. Also now I feel I need to kind of make a cut in here, because I don't really like this circular shape going all over the thing. So I feel like the shape in here needs to be kind of like cut, so it will feel a bit nicer. And also remember that in here I'm planning to make the ground relatively dark. And also let me find the painting by Johan that I have found. So let me just open it, and soon I will also show you what is the plan for me to do. Okay, let's display capture. So this is basically this thing. He took a painting and he just animated the shit out of it. This is like one of the coolest thing I have ever seen. Johan Szepacz, just make sure to follow him. And this is basically what I am kind of aiming for with this guy that I have like in there. I kind of want to make like a really simple background, kind of maybe like brighter at the bottom, darker on the top, with some like hues in it, and to make some sparkles and to make like this fog type of a thing moving on the ground. I feel this will look cool. And also, as far as I know, to make this type of an animation, like to make a simple idle animation, is not that hard. So you'll basically like cut like the shield, the shoulder pads, the head and the neck, the arm in the back like into 2 pieces, the sword, the legs into like 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 pieces or whatever in this cloth. And I will just do some sort of a magic to animate it. Because I feel animating your paintings is like a next step to make them interesting. Like even like a really simple and slight animation is just a nice touch to add, which is again in a professional work. If I don't have time for stuff like this, then okay, I cannot do this, but this is my like free time, my spare time, and yeah, and I can do this, so which is really cool. And also because we were also randomizing the next monster, so the next monster was chosen by Ataberg. It turns out it is a skeleton, so I was thinking that for the next monster I actually can maybe make an illustration, because I kind of don't want to draw another skeleton without like anything interesting. Tried animation before. Hello, Necromancer. Actually, yes, but in a really limited manner. Like I did an animation of. Oh, let me open it. View profile. Yeah, let me just search for it for a while. So give me a second. I need to open like a really old folder of mine with from the time when I was studying, because this will be on my older diploma. And I'm not sure where do I have it. So let me search for it for like 1 minute more and experiment. No, not in here. Tips, no. It's not a diploma. Old files. Older files. Not in here. Not in here. Not in here. Wait. Let me search for it. I think it's in here. It should be somewhere in here. Because I was playing the animation of a painting actually as a last slide in my presentation. I am in the folder, but is it this? Yeah, it is this. So let me just open it and display video display. Yeah, so I did this guy, and like the animation in here is stupid simple because it's just like water moving, and there are like these things are like flaring. And this was actually my diploma, like my baccalaureate degree. And if I move it like in time, you can see the background is kind of like moving. So and the lens flare is also moving. So it was like a background, like animated background for me to like answer all the questions while defending diploma and yada yada and everything. So this was like the general idea for it. So like with the simple animations, I will manage. Definitely I will manage the background to make it look a bit cooler, but nothing too crazy. Maybe actually I will kind of like work on the background. I kind of feel it could get some love from me. So yeah, let me just slightly paint over it, so we will have a better understanding on what I'm aiming for. The thing that I really want to avoid in the background is to having like a pure black, because like the pure black is just boring, like always. I kind of want this to be kind of like foggy type of a whatever. Actually, in the Slayer painting that I did previously, I kind of like the background, but it was like a lot of like adjustments later in the end, and overlays and everything to make it look a bit cooler. Which I mean, I don't have problems using with, but yeah. Actually, a nice background can really bring the painting alive. For example, using some stuff like this, some color adjustments. This is like really basic stuff, but I can make like the background a little bit more red, which actually looks kind of cool. I kind of dig it. And for the shadows, I can go with like a little bit more like brownish or bluish. I kind of like this brown type of a hue, but I also kind of like this like kind of like green disgusting type of a thing. So as you can see, it looks like this. What will happen if I will move it on top of everything? This is basically what happens with it. So let's not do this. Yeah, but something like this, and maybe like to lower the saturation a bit. So the problem also with working with like the dark backgrounds is, yeah, and in here I don't want to make like the heavy breathe. I kind of want to make like a gentle idle, so it's not like moving all the way, because I never liked those type of animations. Because they felt a little bit over the top in a sense. But not, yeah. But having something like slight and delicate, I feel is really fine. It's really okay-ish. And maybe something like this. So for example, can you see? Yeah, something like this type of a painting, this type of a stuff. So if you want to remove the watermark, you just content aware fill. Usually I don't suggest like stealing stuff, but in this case I just want to like overlay it, so I don't really care that much. It won't be like the main part of a painting. So yeah, with stuff like this, and also resizing the stuff usually works nicely, so I can, for example, experiment with the background a bit, and even for sketching, just for the sake of sketching, it usually works great. I really like this color of a fog of a background. I feel it's a bit too bright at the moment, but I dig the color and the brightness of it, because the silhouette now is much more visible, because now it kind of blends together. Now it is visible, which is cool. And now it is only like a matter of like blending one thing with the other. And yeah, and I need to remember also the background needs to be like relatively simple, because I will be like painting over it. And also with the legs, I could work even more just on the general shape of them, because most likely I will hide them slightly in the fog, so the ground will be a bit more foggy. And also I think that I could separate the ground he's standing on, and I could figure out what to do with this pile he's standing on, because it can be like a lot of different things. And honestly, I don't even think he should stand on anything. I feel like just having him to be like this is more than fine to stand on the ground. Also in the ground, the angle is not proper. The ground will be much more like kind of like this. Something along those lines, but yeah, I will like paint over it. So yeah, we can experiment a bit with the shapes and everything, because I kind of wanted him to be like in this like hellish type of a setting, but honestly I don't really have many ideas on it, and I kind of want to avoid like painting him standing on top of the corpses or whatever. I could do like a pile of skulls. This will actually be kind of cool. Let me just try just this. So maybe like some bones. Because if this is like a Hell Knight, I can imagine in Hell they have like quite a lot of bones. So let me search for like a skull pile type of a cool pile type of a thing. Tools, usage rights, commercial and other licenses. I could make them in 3D, like basically. Royalty free stock photos. I just found some schools, and what is also nice about the schools is the fact that they will greatly show the scale. So I can compare that, for example, the head now is like the head can be kind of like human size. So let me also open the skeleton type of a thing. Some spooky, scary skeleton. So, because one of the things that fuckload of artists forgets about, me included, really often is a scale of an object. Yeah, but I kinda... let me just soon I will show you what I mean. If this is like a human, I can imagine the Blood Knight being kind of like this size. So now I can like kind of compare the skull. Yeah, and stuff like this. And yeah, just some... I actually really like this idea of the skulls being on the ground. This will add a fuckload of work. I'm absolutely thrilled about it. And I kind of want the hue to be kind of like this yellowish, greenish type of a thing. Yeah, for like the hellish bounce light, maybe. But I don't want to like place him in a hell. I kind of like to present those concepts in like... kind of like you would take them into a studio and you will like tell them, okay, pose now, and I will make like a nice picture of you with like one like set of light and maybe a slight rim light on the edge. It's a bit simpler approach, but it also works really well for the presentation. It usually really brings the presentation out. So yeah, if I would work with anything that is like that requires more of a, how to say it, more artistic approach. If I would be working with the illustration, then yeah, then most likely I will paint. I will try to paint everything, and will present the object in like really interesting light scenario. But since this is not like an illustration, it's more like a presentation of a concept, then I don't really care that much. And like, yeah, let me search for like a bone pile. Bone pile, bone ground, bone whatever, bone texture, skull ground. Yeah, marble. This looks cool. Now I can also like collect fuckload of photographs and just kind of like merge them together. I like the idea of the ground being made out of skulls. And yeah, I will just like compose everything together, adjust it, and after doing so, I can like paint it nice. So yeah, and the idea is also because these photos that I am taking are on a like free license. It means I can like adjust whatever I want from them. I can extrude everything from them. And yeah. Yeah, kinda yes, but again, this is like a concept more instead of like being same thing. I hope you got it. Also, I can show you a cool thing. If you go to edit, I am on the layer like with this white guy. If I will go to mode, not edit, and adjustment and match color, you can basically choose the document. So Black Knight, and the schools are layer 87. So if I choose layer 87, it will match the color to the layer I have chosen, so I can choose the color intensity and everything. It's not a perfect fit, but it's a really fast way to like add nice stuff, to like match the colors together. And also because there are like a lot of like piles of bones, it's not an easy, like it's not a hard thing to find. Searching for the references is surprisingly easy. Also because there are like tons and tons of like mausoleums where like a lot of schools is just like a normal occurrence. So yeah, like grabbing those, and even just for a sake of having a little bit of a details in there. I don't require like all of them to be like perfect. They can be like squashed, darkened, and whatever. As long as it kind of gives this feel of some schools, I am fine with it, more than fine with it. And actually I was planning some sort of a mausoleum to be a background first. And also recently I found a really cool painting. I don't remember the artist, I will try to search for it like for the next stream. A really cool painting with like this altar and a lot of schools and everything. And the artist basically utilized on using arrays. So he had like a 3D model of a thing, of like several schools, and he did some arrays and everything, and he just like combined those together to form a like really nice type of a painting. So it was also a cool thing. Like schools are just cool in terms how they look like, and bones are cool too. Even like really longest time ago when I was young, we were on like a school trip to like a mausoleum where they were actually a lot of schools. So yeah, and even those type of things are really easy to be made in 3D. You basically like take a skeleton, like a 3D model of a skeleton. You just take parts of him, kind of slightly modify, like I don't know, 50 bones, and you just make a simulation out of it, so they will drop on top of each other, and boom, you have like a bony type of a ground. And I can even imagine like making this type of a thing is not even like that hard. Or yeah. Yeah, and also if there is like anything that I can imagine hell will be full of, it's schools and bones. So yeah, I feel those type of textures are definitely a thing that will appear, that would appear in hell. So, and also as you can see, because those textures are relatively random, there's like a lot of stuff going on them. It's relatively easy to like merge them together, and later I will like, because it's like a lot of noise, a lot of random noise. So I can just like merge them together, slightly remove the highlights from them, paint over them, and I will have a relatively okay-ish looking type of it. Because in this case, even if I just squeeze a texture in here, or like do something like this with it, it's really hard to see I use the same texture for like the 3 places, like for the 3 spots in the same place. So I can even take like the same texture and just move it behind everything, flip it horizontal, flatten it so it will give this idea of a dimension. Choose a spot healing brush tool, and after spot healing brushing some areas, it will basically also generate for me like the missing parts of a texture. So for example, as you can see, if I have this texture and this texture, if I will just select, let's say like this area, and go with like Control Shift F5 and take a content aware fill, then it will try actually to generate the texture based on what it sees. And I would say this is not like a perfect texture, but it's not that bad too. If I will just try to spot healing brush tool on it like several times to kind of get rid of like some of the things that are like repeating, and then I will kind of like select it and paste it in here, and then I will flatten it. It basically creates like a perfect texture for the ground. So yeah, this is like, in this case, it's kind of like a no-brainer. So you can see if I blend it, then I just generated a nice texture for the ground. So yeah, and because I want this painting to be a bit maybe like this. Yeah, the general idea is it's better to make a bit more of the environment. So I will like do more than I need around him, and then I can crop it. So yeah, but it also makes the file a bit bigger, so it needs to kind of process everything nicely. So soon you will see what I mean. And the background, I can just basically Control X, Control Shift File, delete the old background, and I can slightly like resize it so the fog will have like the universal color on everything. And in here again, I can just select those areas that are like, or I don't even need to select those. I can like always obscure everything in fog. So also because we are in hell, in this case, I can imagine the fog being really thick. So I can also experiment with all the overlays and whatnot, with all the blending modes. Everything looks bad, so I will experiment with the levels. I know you cannot see the thing, only the like preview, but yeah, I can just do a lot of stuff with it. One of the things, let me only show you on the display capture, that you can do when dealing with like a background, go to black and white mode, then go to layers, to levels, and then adjust it according to like a smaller version, because now you can see like, for example, this is way too bright, and I can really adjust and fine tune all the values. So I can see what is basically working. In this case, I don't want the values to be like too bright. I kind of want them to be exactly the same as they are for like the kind of like the bottom of this night. So I want them to be darker. So while doing those, I actually try to squint my eyes and I try to compare like the values together. I like to look at them as a group. So after doing so, you can see that the values are getting much darker. And yeah, and I feel it is okay. Also, one of the things that I should do is to work on a duplicate, so I can bring some of those. Let me redo this. So I can bring some of the highlights easier, because now I am making the darker version a little bit devoid of light and everything, something slightly darker. And also now, because I do have like this brighter layer, I can add a mask to it. I can just paint in black over it, and after doing so, I can also now paint with white on the mask to bring some of the light here and there. So the ground now will be slightly brighter where I want it to be like brighter, so it won't be like all uniform, because I can imagine like there will be a bit more light in the area where the character is standing. So yeah, and I still have not like even casted the shadow of the character, because it will also like cast a relatively darker shadow. So, but also let me just on the layer above above leg and everything, I can just take, like, let's say this fog, and using a fog brush, this is legal if anyone is wondering. You can use stuff like this. You can also produce some of a fog. And I am not really sure how I am going to handle like animating it, but I feel I will need to have like a fogless version, and I will add the fog in the painting, or I will just take this layer and I will try to like animate it nicely. So I kind of want the frontal leg to be slightly more visible than the back leg, and this leg that is in the background, just because. And also now for the ground, I want the ground also to be darker in the background and to be darker in the front, so the contrast will look a bit more. Yeah, this is exactly what I want to make. So now everything is tad darker. Yeah, now I can also like paint over those type of stuff. So I want to kind of get rid of all the like hard edges that are happening, because the background now is a little bit too uniform, like the fog is a little bit too uniform with the shape. But now I can also take the darker shapes from the ground. I feel I will just try to make some sort of a like modifier in After Effects that will just whoosh this fog, that it will move the flat image instead of like producing all the other stuff. So some fog will like move, like will physically move, and some of the fog that I will do will not move physically. This is a plan for this painting. So yeah. And because I want to kinda bring the attention back to the night, I will darken the sides of the canvas a bit more. So if I will darken the sides, it will basically naturally bring the focus on the knight himself. And also I can like play with the shapes of the clouds, because this is one of the things, if you want the presentation to look good, all the small details should be just fine. Like, okay, the background I could like leave longest time ago, it could be just black, but I kind of wanted to also convey some sort of a feeling. So I feel like adding those like small swirls in the fog or whatever will just benefit the entire thing, because it just is a nice type of a detail. And also I can even imagine later, if I will try to like even slightly animate it, then it will like play a huge role in like just making the entire thing look a bit more interesting. And is this the right layer? Let me disconnect the fog that is on the front from the fog that is in the back, because a second ago I was like blending it together. I don't really mind some fog like obscuring the model, so like the fog is like going around the demon, but this is also one of the things that I want to leave for the end, so the fog will actually go around him nicer. And for the schools, in this case, I will use like more of a brushed type of a texture, because I do want him to kind of like crush on them a bit more, and I want to get rid of this like flat, 3D, fake looking stuff. So also because they are like old and between all the bones and whatnot, I can basically take the sharper version of this brush. I can just like paint with what I already have on the ground to make the entire thing even more interesting. And while doing so, I am also trying to constantly look on this guy in here, on the navigator, because with the navigator I can actually see much more. So let me turn off the display capture so the chat will be visible. So let me move the chat slightly so it won't like be glued to the edge. Yep, it looks okay-ish now. And this is usually also a good idea if you are like using a ready-made elements like I did in here. It's always a good thing to like paint over them. It will like kind of tie everything together a bit more. And tying together stuff is just fine. Just okay for the presentation. Like presentation-wise, it's a good idea. And also in here I can make some of the bones to like protrude or whatever. And to get rid of some of the faces that I don't want to have. So yeah, and this does not even require a lot of like attention because there's like so much noise on the ground that you won't even like focus on a certain element. So it does not really matter that like a skull is not like perfectly rendered or whatever because it's not like the important part of the painting. It's just like one of the parts of it. So yeah, if the general lighting will be like relatively similar, then you are good to go. And if like the skulls were important for the concept, so for example the skulls that he is crushing is like an, I don't know, narrative type of a piece, then of course like work on it a bit more, like spend more time designing all the elements and everything. But again, it does not need to be like perfect. Like sometimes a suggestion is better than a perfect render, because as I said previously, even though there's like a fuckload of like noise in here and details and everything, compared to the rest of the night, it's really kind of like uniform type of a noise. This will be like the rest area, because there are like in the end it's not really clear what you are looking at. This makes the entire thing to be more restful. And also using photos, the best thing about using photos and random things is the random colors that you will get. Because hello Mikołaj, if anyone would tell me to like paint a fuckload of bones on the ground, there's a high probability I will like limit myself to like 1 or 2 different colors, and I will forget about all like this subtle bronzes and grays and everything that we do have in here. So yeah, just doing those. This is just like a nice idea to do. And also I kind of want some like stuff like this to be in here, some like ribs type of shapes, because this was like actually the original idea for this fella. So he will stand on some like rib cage type of a thingy. Like at first I thought about more organic demon type of shapes, but since now we are going for more like human-like type of bones, I can actually add those without any problems whatsoever into the ground. So it will actually make the entire ground even more interesting, because something spiky is happening. Spiky stuff usually is interesting, and spiky stuff usually looks nice. And it also allows me to create a nice depth, because for example in here, as you can see, let me do this on the next layer, on the new layer. For example in here I can add some like spikes or whatever, and it will kind of like increase the feeling of depth. Also remember, all those spikes and stuff like this will contribute to the leaning of an eye around the piece. So for example in here I can easily produce some of the stuff that will just grab attention from the viewer. That won't grab attention, that will guide the eyes. For example, this type of a shape in here does go like this, and it suggests that, okay, interesting stuff in there, look there, you should look there, definitely you should look there. So yeah, I wanted to kind of maybe leave a bit of this gray areas, but now I feel like I don't want. I want this to be like a solid full of skeletons type of a ground. For example, in here, and this area is like absolutely obscured by the fog. Let me just copy. No, not like this. Like this. Some textures and remove it, so I will bring a bit of a details back. And again, since this is going to be a relatively simple type of a ground, I don't want it to be like too crazy, but it allows me to make really interesting things with it. So even for the stuff like in here, for example, I can like whoosh, can like suggest there are piles and shit happening in the background, which I was not able to do when I was just dealing with like the black background. So now I have like a more tonal value, and with more tonal value comes more power. More power gives better paintings. Boom. And also because these shapes are like in the fog, I don't really give a flying fuck on like the quality of them, so I can like suggest stuff all over the world, and I can make it look okay-ish. And also this makes the entire painting look cooler, and it's easier to make a painting this way. In here, if I will paint over something, I will be like, oh no, I painted over the thing that I have painted. It's like wrong. I still can do this. So yeah. And later maybe I will decide on what type, because even now at the moment I'm not entirely sure what type of an elements I would like to animate. I feel like with all those schools on the ground, I like animated some of the schools will be actually fun. Like I mean some of the bones kind of like moving slowly or gently while he's standing on those. So they will like kind of crackle here and there. But it's not that I know what elements I would like to move, and also I have no idea how to do this at this moment, so it will most likely take me some time to kind of like figure out what I can do with it and what I need to move certain things, because it could be a case, and most likely it will be, that even with a static image I can just select a thing and just be like move, and it will like actually move exactly in a way I want it, because it won't like really matter in terms of the thing. Or later I will just mask everything that I need to mask, and well, be like, okay, time to paint stuff. And also, since the light source that I got is relatively strong, but it's more like in a fog, I do believe I can get away with like making a shadow really soft and a top a bit sharper, and later to add some sort of a god ray, so there will be like the light shining from the side. That's a really slight one, so it will just read a bit better. And because this guy in here is on the front, I want it to be a bit darker, and also the thing in the foreground in here will be much more saturated. So if I want to have any colors in the foreground, these colors, because they are like in the deeper shadow, they are darker because they are closer to us. The value spectrum is just bigger. Naturally they should be more saturated, because the deeper the shadow, the more saturated the shadow gets, the more color it gets, and the closer it is, the darker it should be, because the value spectrum in here is just bigger. So yeah. And it's also relatively fun to paint stuff like this. I never actually painted like a ground full of bones, so now I have like a good idea on how to do this for the future project, for the future projects. Because this is one of the themes that most likely will occur more than once in the paintings that I am doing, since I like schools, demons and everything. So yeah, this will be like returning topic. And also what is cool, if you are looking like at something like this, it is basically nothing. But if you look at this thing, the context of everything that is around it, that is happening like around it, now it all of a sudden starts to make a lot of sense. Now these are schools. I kind of feel the scale is a bit odd. Well, I don't care. And I think I will add some schools on top of him, so I will glue him together to the environment a bit more. Some browns and stuff. Because this area is a little bit too bright, so I will just tap it with some texture. And by tapping stuff with a texture. Also, if you are tapping texture, make sure the texture is also like slightly flattened, so it will look a bit more natural because the texture will follow the thing. Yeah. And now let's see the fog on top of it. Now I definitely see that this fog is way too thick. Really much too thick. But I could make it even thicker, but I could also like remove from it. So the thickness will also allow me to create some cool looking shapes like this. So I'm basically with like a circle removing the parts on the fog. So I am having like a really sharp and soft edges. And the more I do this in several places, the more of a like detail I will get, similar to the thing that I have done in the background. So it will like be more, it will be a little bit more consistent with it. I could also buy like a nicely made pack with fogs to use like a photo texture for it, and I'm kind of now considering to do just this, so I won't have to like paint the entire thing. But yeah, on the other hand, it's not that hard, it's not that problematic. So, but it will always grant me like the additional level. So now you can see the fog is like really thick. It's like kind of like this deep smoke. I hired some vapors to come and vape into this room. I remember once when I was like meeting with my cousin. Basically, he's my uncle, but he is like almost the same age as I am. And we were going to like this vape shop because he's vaping. And there were like these two dudes that were just sitting there, and I don't know, having a contest for like the thickest fog they could produce. Because the moment you like went into a shop, you were basically like knee deep in the smoke. Like the smoke was so thick you could not see your shoes or whatever. Yeah, it was kind of fun. The more you know. And also for this type of a thing, using Liquify is really cool, because Liquify allows me to achieve this like kinda more smoky type of a feel. So it will like elongate everything. So as you can see, after like doing this, now it looks more like it's moving actually. Now I can like work on these shapes. I could also take like a soft brush for like a smudge tool, take just a normal circle, and I can just with smudge 100% smudge brush, I can just like move the smoke around, which also is a cool thing to do, because this way you can kind of like paint with the thing that you have if you set it to like 100%. And the soft brush kind of ensures you that it won't produce hard edges, because for example using the round brush will produce soft edges. So yeah, this is this. Now let's make a shadow of this guy. The simplest way to add shadow to anything that you do, also I combined the layers together now I don't want to test one thing. The easiest and the most lazy way to add shadow is to you just duplicate the guy. You make him black. And now I also see there is a gap in his neck and in the shield. You do like lazy stuff like this. You just like press it down and move it slightly to the side, add a bit of a perspective to it. This is like a ghetto way of adding shadows, but it works. It really works, especially for the soft shadows. More like being lazy. It works. This is a proper way of casting shadow only if you are dealing with a flat plane. If you are doing with anything that is like three-dimensional, it won't work. It is a good starter, but again, since I am going for maybe even I can show you a cool blur, but there is a chance it will crash my PS. Because there is this really cool tilt shift blur, and if you just tell it like be in here, from all the blurs that you have in Photoshop, this one is definitely the best one, because it allows you to really nicely control what are you doing. So you can like tell, wait, I need to move this point like in here. So this is basically my shadow. This is how quickly it needs to like blur. I can increase the blur and move this point like, well, move it like here. The steering of it is a bit odd. Where do I rotate? I have no idea why I'm now rotating. I want to move it. Stop rotating it. Move. Yeah, and I can like move it in here, and I can like tell it to blur everything under this line. Move. So yeah, now it looks like this, and it basically creates like this fake type of a tilt shift, so everything that is like in front will be blurred more than something that is in the back. So this is like the general idea. So as you can see in here right now, the shadow in the front is really sharp and shadow in the back is really soft, and this is what I'm basically going for. It's like this shadow should be darker. I can paint it because it does not really matter that much if it's like this proper, but yeah, it's a starter. So yeah, now let me just adjust it, because again, it's not a perfect way to add a shadow, but it's also not a bad way to add a shadow. So the general idea is this area will be like, well, this area will be like lower, and because this pile of bones will also cast like a really soft type of a shadow. So it will go something like, I don't, well, I forgot I'm not having a blur anymore. And if you are going to blur edges, like 25% or something like along those lines is more than fine. Let me remove some stuff. And also remember, the shadow should not be like pitch black. It should be darker, but it should not be like pitch black. So to remove some fill from it, usually it is a good idea. So yeah, now you can also see that it looks a bit more like it belongs to this environment. And there is this, and also now I noticed on the ground there is actually a part that is just darker in here, so I need to like brighten this area a bit more up. So when I remove the, where is the shadow? Yeah, where I remove the shadow, The fact that this area is a bit darker, like a darker strip is in here, it makes the entire thing just read a bit weirdly, because it's like making that area much darker. And this area is too dark now. But yeah, you get the drill. Simple shadow. It could be even flattened a bit more. And also remember that usually the thing is, the softer the light source, I mean, this is how it works. The softer the light source, the softer the shadow. So the sharper the light source, the stronger the light source, or the smaller. No, the sharper and the and the smaller the light source, the sharper the shadow is. So if you have like a really small but an extremely strong light source, then it will be like really sharp, but dispersing on the edges. But the bigger the light source will be, then the bigger the light source is, the shadow, the softer it is. At least this is how it works in 3D. So yeah, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. Boom, boom. Cool. And even if we now compare this background to... We won't compare because I have not saved the copy. There is nothing to compare, but I should not connect anything because I want to... Where is this? I want to keep this fog as a separate thing, but I can connect those. Fog. So I can later also like put a bit more work into this fog, because I don't really like how it looks right now. It should be like, what? Now I like it. And that was simple. Yeah, just to... Here you have it. And yeah, it's nice. And now also with this fella, I can do the thing that I take the color from the ground. I just slightly go over the legs, because I want the legs to also be unified with the ground a bit more. So I just take the color, and I can just try some different layer blending modes. So I feel something like nothing will basically work as I intended it to do. But let me check if I can like underlaying layer. No. Yes. If I can kind of like connect it somehow together. Because I kind of just want to have like this really subtle blend with the ground. It will be extremely subtle, but it will make the legs a bit brighter. As you can see, it kind of catched some lights in or whatever. And now a second ago, like my Streamlab just like blinked on me. I hope nothing crashed. And also now I can take some like highlights from the ground. I can just start combining it together with everything to like refine those areas. Because again, those areas that are really close to the ground does not really matter that much. And at this point, I just want them to be sharper, and some local shadows to be slightly sharper. So yeah. And also recently I have been working, working is a bit of an art. Let me turn off the fog. This is important because I will try to paint with the fog, and the fog will kind of mess up my colors. I was trying to work a bit with the widgets. So now if anyone like subscribes or whatever, there is a special Diablo-like widgets and everything. I can show you with the testing. Maybe it would work. So follow does this. I have no idea if you can actually see this, if I'm just testing this, but you can see this. And subscription is this. So yeah, Diablo themed widgets are done. Had to extract some voices from Diablo to do so, but I think it's cool, especially since like 99% of this live streams is about Diablo at this moment. So yeah, and also tomorrow, Diablo Resurrected is finally getting released. So yeah, it's time to kill Diablo and everything again for the I have no idea which time already. I definitely am going to play. So yeah. Also, if anyone is wondering, I am absolute garbage in terms of like playing Diablo, in terms of like the quality and everything, because I have never been playing like competitively. I was mostly playing because I like this game. And when I was a kid, I was mostly playing single player. Really rarely I have been playing on Battle.net because I never liked the idea of someone giving me items. I always like to gather some stuff. But now when I'm older, most likely we will be playing, I mean, definitely we will be playing online with some friends of mine. So yeah. If the channel, if my channel, like this one, the one that you are watching right now, would be something around, I don't know, 100,000 subscribers, then I even think we could play together, like with the subscribers. It will be a cool thing to do, but I'm nowhere near this big on IT, Twitch or wherever. So yeah. And also previously when I was like live streaming, I had a sound of Descartes Kane saying like stay a while and listen and everything. And I remember like then someone, I have no idea how you actually do this, but someone managed to like pull out some sort of a bot or whatever. It actually kind of got me excited because all of a sudden a lot of subscriptions started to happen and everything, and I thought like, whoa, like someone is like giving a donation or whatever. And it turns out you can fake a donation. It's like a popular prank on Twitch for like a new streamer. I had no idea you can even do this. Like I have no idea how they make it. But when I was like listening for like the sixth time in a row, like stay a while and listen, something like hello my friend, stay a while and listen, I was like, it's not happening. There's no way for like a follower. So basically like you just press a follow and you follow. There's no way I'm going to like keep those sounds of Descartes Kane saying like stay a while and listen, because it got so annoying so fast. I had a hard time to process it, like how bad of an idea it was for me to think that it will be a cool thing to have. And also it was extremely distracting. Even though I don't need to be like 100% focused on what I'm doing right now, hearing Descartes like 10 times in a row was really annoying. So yeah. Some reflected light on ground. And now let's decide if we want to keep this cloth or if we don't want to keep this cloth. Let me make a version without it. Goodbye cloth. I was kinda also digging the idea of a painting. Let me show you. Okay, Thompson Knight. I was talking about it in like a previous stream. But it feels really proper for this design. Where is the pen? Here is the painting, the drawing. To have something like this for this guy. So he will have like this armor piece on his crotch. And I feel it is kind of like disgusting in a sense, but like in the Middle Ages stuff like this happened. Like people were wearing like armors like this, and I felt like maybe this is actually a cool idea for this knight to have something like this. It will kind of put him a little bit more on this like demonic side in a sense. So yeah, I was thinking about exploring this idea further. So let me check it. So this will be the armor, or maybe to just make him wear like kind of like a black, I don't know, black underwear or whatever, black leather thing in here. It makes the leg look kind of awkward. Definitely the cloth is an easy way to obscure a lot of like imperfections in terms of like geometry and anatomy. It just hides everything. And I kind of feel adding like a cloth to like your design is like the easy way to solve problems, because now like in here now I can expect something like this to happen. like the ass will be like in there. So the thigh will need to be slightly smaller for it to look at least okay-ish. This golden part will go like this, and this will go like this. Let me just make like the armor piece going around here. Maybe it's not a bad idea. So this will be like basically like this crotch protection type of a thing happening here. I don't think it would get much light because it's like it will be like in a deep shadow from the armor above it. It could have like this sharp ending. I kind of like it, but it messes up with the proportions a bit too much. I feel like the cloth definitely works with the proportions, but about the proportions. Let me fix the head, because it is still too big. I want it to be smaller, so the demon will feel a bit bigger. It's like the easy way to make something feel big. Just make the head small. Okay. Let me remove the unnecessary parts. And I kind of like this double golden edge like in here. So he will have like the armor piece, but one of the pieces of the neck armor will also be like covered in here. And then there again will be like a part of like the silver black thing to happen in here. Also, I was talking so much about like having a lot of details in here, and I have like 0 details and like a really ugly render on his face. I need to like rework him quite a lot. So it will be much sharper and the render will be much tighter on the face area. So all the like small imperfections on the helmet, there should be like in here, all the highlights. And the horns definitely need quite a lot of polishing. I really want them to feel nice and premium and golden and everything, so I might as well do those. And also for the Scott Robertson, yeah, I also went through his books. They are cool, but at the point, in the point where I was going through them, at that moment I actually knew vast majority of the things he was talking about. There were some information that were cool, but they mostly served me to like make sure that the things that I knew were like a proper knowledge. So yeah, but definitely one of the best books out there. Like if I would like ever had to like start from the scratch because of something and I will be still interested in drawing, I hope it won't happen, that I will need to start from scratch. These are definitely the books I will go with to learn how to draw. Or if I could go back in time and just have some books and meet my like younger self before I started like learning how to draw in schools and everything, then I will like give myself those books and be like, study those, you will be good, believe me. And yeah. And I also really like this detail where the gold from the horns is like mixing with the bluish hues. I feel this is like a nice type of a thing. And now also comparing the horns, like how soft they are I feel like the mask is absolutely not rendered nicely. It looks like I just started rendering it. It just feels the value on the horns and everything are much more better. At some point I also thought maybe actually the horns of these guys will be like the original horns of this guy, so it will be like his horns, and they will just like fuse the helmet from like two pieces. So basically it will be like the back piece and the front piece in here, and there will be like two openings, and they will like fuse them together on his head. I thought it was like a neat idea, but on the other hand, it's hard for me to imagine this demon. Like, I mean, it will be cool, and it makes sense because it's hard for me to imagine this demon without any horns on his head. Like, if you are a demon, you need to have a horns on a head. If you don't have, like, are you even a demon? I don't think so. And also on the top, there will be a bit of a light because there is always like some sort of a like general light source. So in this case, the general light source in top can be like this like grayish type of a hue. So the part in the back will actually have some of it. Yeah, some gold. Yeah, the helmet definitely needs a lot of polish. And because I am from Poland, it means I am good at polishing stuff, so... So yeah. Like a nice trait for all artists from Poland. We open the file and we just polish it immediately. Now it's polished file. It was touched by a Pole. Like the small highlight, I feel, will do the trick. Now I also noticed I'm not painting on a separate layer, which is kinda sucks because I cannot compare the progression, but well, now I am. So remember to paint on the new layer so you can always check if you are improving or if you are destroying a painting, because from up close you actually never know. Yeah, but if there is anything that I feel looks really nice in this painting, it's the horn. This horn, like, I really like this area. It looks cool. It looks nicely polished. The material looks interesting for me. And also it's a cool tip if you are learning how to draw and how to paint. Be proud from the stuff that you are doing. In the long run, it will really help you to develop as an artist because there's no need to bash yourself that you cannot do something. It's always a nice idea to actually be supportive to yourself. So if you support yourself, then the entire process is just easier and more pleasurable. Also soon, I think I will need to grab something to eat because I'm starting to get kinda hungry. And the Budapest is not happy. The capital of Hungary. Jokes. Yeah, but definitely this guy is a blast. I mean, I still should finish the carver. But boy, I don't want to finish this small blue fella. I don't like how he turns out, so maybe I will just start him from scratch. Or yeah, this might be the idea, because I had this like guy standing outside, like a sword and a face. Maybe I will just like forget that stream happened. I will keep it in the archives, but it was definitely not a nice design. That guy. This part should be brighter. And this part should be darker. This part should be brighter again. And sometimes if you really want to draw attention, it's like what I said. Make sure that the most important area is sharp and tight as hell. Then the sharpness will like just basically steal the eye. It will just force someone to look at it. Like sharp things, sharp edges, sharp everything. They just do the trick. So for example, the face in here could get some more saturation in those areas. So even with like the stuff like this, the shadows in here will be like extra saturated. So there is like a higher chance of someone just like looking there because of colors. And it started lagging. Stop lagging. Yeah, Photoshop decided to like lag. Thanks Photoshop for your cooperation. And also one of the things that I have noticed that's really easily kill the readability and the nice aspect of a lot of paintings is the fact that sometimes an artist just leaves like the black edge. Like there's like if I would do something like this, I would just leave like this black type of outline somewhere. I found that really often when I'm looking at artwork, it just screams at finished at me. Like those type of residues, I guess is the right word for it. Like those type stuffs just don't look good. So if you can get rid of all the outlines, if it's a shadow, then it's fine. But usually you can deal with it like in a way of like creating a darker like area to show some shadows or to show some colors or whatever. But if you don't, then try to avoid leaving outlines because, as I said, for me, they scream unfinished. If there is anything that I would like to like really avoid, for example, in here, like this edge between this and that, I should remove it because it won't feel cash money a lot. In the yeah, and those areas in here, they can easily be a bit more saturated. It's hard to like see the colors and everything in here, like the edges, because it's so much in the shadow. But let me check how it looks like from the back. It looks cool. I like it. And I can also take this highlight type of a color that I had and also apply it in here, because I was kind of wondering what do I do with like this area. So it's basically kind of treating the fog behind him kind of as a separate light source that will allow me to create this like type of a rim light edge type of a thing, but not really a rim light because it's not like a rim light. It's more like a indirect light type of a thing, which I feel looks nice. It just adds to the volume because it's like this dirty type of a light source. It kind of like ties the thing together with the background, which is nice. I do feel like if you look at it now on the top part, it's definitely like glues the thing together. And it's also additional color for me to like use to render in those type of an areas, which is always a nice thing to have. The more like cool things you can include in your painting, the cooler the painting will be, period. So yeah. Also, if anyone has any questions, again, feel free to ask them. If you have not subscribed or followed already, please do. At this point, it's like it won't help me much, but in the future it will, because yeah, the more subscribers and everything, the more exposure, and everybody knows the artists like live with exposure. We pay bills with exposure and everything, so please give me some exposure. So yeah, it will be cool to have you around for a longer period of time. And every new monster that is cool, I will really like put all my efforts into it. So for example, the next monster is a skeleton, which is an absolutely the shittest monster that anyone could like randomize. But well, I know there will be a lot of skeletons in this challenge. I knew this from the beginning. So I have to deal with them right now. So I thought maybe I will, as I said, make an illustration with skeletons. So maybe the next streams will be about making illustrations, which is cool. Also, if you could let me know what do you think about the thumbnail in YouTube, it will be also cool, because I heard an opinion that textless thumbnails are better in terms of like they get more engagement because of like how mysterious they are in a sense. So someone might be interested into clicking because they will only see the cool looking image. They won't see the thing, like the description of what it is. So there is a higher chance someone will click and stay because he or she is interested, or whatever pronouns you want to use. And yeah, I am kind of wondering if this will affect like the clickability of my videos. Also in here I'm adding some like reflected like deep shadow type of a colors, because it still will get some of the light. And from here I'm grabbing a bits of those lights in here, and I want to include them on a thigh, because previously I had some lights in here, but I was not sure what type of a light I want to include in here, and now I know that the shadows will gather will get a bit of this fog type of a color on them. So yeah. So again, if anyone would be kind enough to let me know what do you think about the thumbnails, it would be cool actually. Because I would really love to avoid doing those stupid ass thumbnails with like my face making some poses. I tried it once and never again. I'm not doing this. Making this like whoa, way, all this type of faces. Because supposedly it works extremely well, but I am not doing that. No way. Just period. So yeah. But I was searching for like a different ways to like make the thing a little bit more engaging. And I feel like, as I said, those textless thumbnails are a way to go, or at least in a week I will verify my speculations more or less, because I will see if the percentage of clicks rose even a bit. Some small highlights without this highlight. Yeah, I feel it's like it is looking nicer and nicer. Some leftovers in here. Add some like teeth. There actually should be an opening like in here. Why am I like painting over it? There will be like teeth visible. Well, sorry, it will have like a slight opening. Then it will like again close. This will be like this, and now in here I can like add some teeth. Yeah, this is bueno. one problem that I have with this painting is the fact I would love to crop it like this, so it will be like really close, but the sword is so fucking long. It will be actually almost impossible to do so because he has a huge sword. And I don't really want to change the position of it. I tried some ideas, but nah. The sword is important. How big is a sword in comparison to, like... Does anyone know? Oh, wait, let me check. Sword to body ratio. What is the sword to body ratio? Is there something like this? Height. See, if you are 185, the blade should be basically... It's basically the half of your body. What? This is short. So maybe I will make the blade smaller. But on the other hand, I kinda like the high fantasy aspect of it. Let me... Hello, blade. Let me see if you can get smaller. The most... When you're a rogue for your entire life, but you lie on your resume and you become a Black Knight. Yeah, actually something like this kind of makes sense, I feel. Like, it's not that stupid big, but it's still quite big. And this way I can also make it thicker. Wait, what was the previous? Holy hell, the previous one was huge. Yeah, I feel this proportion is much better. And it allows me to like crop it a bit more from the top, which I was all about. I'm only painting with 5. Nice. Yeah, now it's a little bit more compact. I kinda like it. We're starting to sit in a more weird position. Now it is a bit small. Yeah, now I'll go back and forth with the size of the sword. Now it's a bit too small. Yeah, now it's perfect. Most likely I will like remodel it 10 times. Again. The easiest way to actually make a sword is to just paint it flat and then to distort it. And do I want to do it this way? Nah. I want to do it the hard way. So let's not take any shortcuts anymore. At least not now. And we are doing it the hard way, as our ancestors did. So now we are designing a sword on a fly. One of the details that I recently really liked was this type of like a kind of like a rust going over a surface. So for example, in here, I would kind of like mix. I kind of like this type of a pattern to be in here. It will kind of like mix the red with like this golden type of a hue or whatever to be in here. I kind of want to avoid those things touching together. I feel like this type of a hue looks nice. It's kind of like crown-like type of a shape. I don't know, I like it. Most likely I will change this like 10 times in the next hour or so, but I kinda like it. And some gold type of a thing. It's one of the things that I really want to learn in the future is to paint like directly with color, in color, and to just suggest a lot of stuff, because in work I cannot wait to be able to show you all this stuff. I hope I will be able to do so, because like the quality of the paintings, and especially I would like to analyze some of them, like it's so good, because like whoever is painting those like knows how to deal with like all the edges and highlights, and just to suggest stuff like this, they like if you look at that painting up close they look like shit, but if you look at them like from the back they look like basically like photographs, which is like mental for me. Like how do you even learn this power? And I feel like even like actually painting a lot with like a circle brush is a good way to learn it, because it kind of forces you to not focus on texture. It kind of forces you to focus on volume and everything and all that. And if you really focus on volume and light and everything, then you are golden, because the entire thing just reads well. And the texture is there only to help it. But if you even can paint this texture by hand, then, well, life is easy. Then you are playing with like, simple stuff. I kinda don't like also this hue on gold in here. Kinda feel like it needs to be slightly reworked. Like this is the polish of the area of like me from like a week ago. Now I have like higher demands for the quality of the polish. It would be actually kind of funny to make like one painting like from the scratch, and with the intention to like never finish it. Just with the intention to like paint over it. Oh, this was the area that I don't like. Just with the intention to paint over it and like to constantly improve on it, to just improve, redesign, repaint everything without like never ending type of stuff. Could actually be kind of cool to do something like this. It definitely will require like a really specific mindset, but still it sounds cool. In this area, I really feel we are getting closer and closer to finish, like with each stroke. And all those small things now are paying off. And in the end, because like quite some time ago I was kind of like bitching about like feeling the lack of improvement. Turns out the only thing that I had to do was to like just shut the fuck up and just do harder things. Because this painting definitely is the most complex character I have ever done. How in the hell I have not noticed this area being this ugly previously? What? And yeah, it turns out like just sit on your ass and just paint harder things is a way to go if you really want to improve at some point. Just spend an ungodly amount of hours on something. This is kind of what also Naimul told me, what Ranjia told him, that just spend ungodly amount of hours on one painting, 100 hours. It does not sound ungodly, but believe me, spending 100 hours on one painting is an ungodly awful amount of hours nowadays, especially in digital, because for me digital is extremely taxing in terms of like painting. Like painting is just more taxing for me than, for example, 3D. In ZBrush, at least now, because like it's new and interesting for me, in ZBrush I feel like I can sit for like hours without problems. Like give me something to do, like give me stuff to learn in ZBrush, I can just burn 10 hours in ZBrush like this without any problems whatsoever. To paint 10 hours straight without any break, not going to happen most likely. I was kind of thinking about making like 24-hour stream, like I don't know, maybe celebrate the 2000 subscribers, but I feel like 2000 is like, it is quite a lot, but it's not as much as I would like it to be, so I will reserve it for like 10,000 or maybe 5,000 or whatever. I feel then I will have like a higher motivation for it. And let's pray that the thing will get a bit more traction. Cool, let me finish the horns. The horns. Also, if anyone is still watching, it will be cool to know how you found the stream. Like, where are you from? I don't expect any answers to appear, but maybe. Maybe someone will surprise me, because I kinda wonder from where you are coming from. Is it like our station, or YouTube search, or Twitch, or whatever? Facebook? I don't know. But yeah. I kinda need to check one thing if I am not making a double live stream, because now it tells me I'm only 37 minutes in. I am not. For how long I am streaming at this moment, because I lost track. Oh, nice. Chris is cool. Oh, over 2 hours, okay. I will stream for like, I don't know, 30 more minutes, and then I will go away. Are you maybe the friend of Konstantinos Skanteridis? Because I remember he was mentioning someone who wanted to ask some questions. Because I'm not sure. Oh, nice. Yeah, also the grease is also fine. Yeah, this is also interesting. It's good to know from where people are. Because even though I'm like, for example, not like targeting at Polish like viewers at all, because I'm like making all the videos in English and everything, I still somehow get the biggest amount of views from Poland. I wonder if actually it kind of matters for the YouTube to like send the stuff around. So for example, if the same channel will be from like US, if it will get more traction because it is from US. I wonder if this is the case. Australia, oh, the non-existing country where people are paid by NASA to pretend they are living there. Konstantinos Skanteridis. Yeah, but I mean, if you did not catch it first time, means it's not you, because he had like some sort of a friend that kind of wanted to ask me some questions and everything, but I absolutely don't remember what his name was. I talked with him once or twice on Facebook, but or maybe now I'm even imagining something, but yeah. Skanteridis, I believe it is to be said. Actually, it's one of the best artists out there, so definitely go to check him out. So wait, if you are from Australia, I need to paint like this. So you will see properly everything. And this is what I meant. I need to care about the viewers. And actually, if anyone is wondering, painting upside down is a good thing to do, because then you don't really, especially when you are checking for the shape and values and stuff like this, because now it's basically impossible for the brain, especially for like more complex scenes, to focus on objects, because everything is like your brain does not process everything properly, because we are not used to see the things upside down. But it actually allows us to focus much more on the shapes and the graphic read of everything. So if you're doing an illustration, it's a good idea to like rotate a lot, because our brain tends to like see the image differently. You should definitely check him out. I do have an art talk with him, like somewhere there on YouTube, longest time ago, but also let me write it. I was like learning how to write his name for like a year, and I couldn't remember it. Konstantinos. Well, Skanteridis, and he also goes by King Costas art. Definitely one of the best artists out there. He is basically painting like a 3D rendering engine. Like he uses passes and everything. He starts his painting with like ambient occlusion, and then he like adds like diffuse color, metal textures and whatnot. On his Facebook, on his fan page, you can find a lot of like the small tutorials that he makes while experimenting with different things. Once I even tried to kind of emulate his method in here, but I failed miserably. But since recently I have been playing a bit more with 3D, and I started to actually do some renders and render passes and stuff like this, I started to notice what he meant by a lot of stuff he was like trying to explain to me, but I just couldn't grasp the idea back then. And now I feel kind of I will be able to produce some of the references for myself that will help me to understand his process. And his process is really cool because it's really like really uniform and universal for basically every single thing that you can imagine, because it's basically like painting like a 3D rendering engine. It also ensures you the really high realistic and realism and a fucking good quality of a painting. So yeah. Add some highlights. Australia. Is it also true that in Australia, because this is my theory, everybody says here instead of here? Because I noticed that every single person from Australia that I have ever watched on YouTube always say here instead of here. And this is like my bulletproof method of like spotting an Australian on YouTube. Like the here gives it out up completely for me. Is this the way? Is this a method to spot Australians? The paid actors? Some of this light in here so the form will read better. Nice. And I have no idea why it is, but it's like every single Australian says it. Like, for example, I did a thing is Australian, and every time I'm watching his videos, every single word he pronounced like normally, but then there's here. And it's like no reason at all for you guys to say it like this. I have no idea from where you got this, but yeah, it's kind of funny. It's also a nice thing to like see, because since like English is not my mother language, it's not like my native language, and I know I have certain ways of saying different stuff differently, most likely, or even sometimes like the way of putting the sentences together is not like proper English in a sense, but I highly doubt even like the people from England do this correctly. There is definitely some words that will like give out absolutely from where I am from, that I am from Poland. I wonder what these words are. Most likely the pronunciation. Ah, now you are. And yeah, as I said, on YouTube, with all the Australian channels, is at the moment 100% like ratio of like me guessing correctly. So yeah, I just gave you a tool to spot the fellow Canadians, Australians, not Canadians. But I guess Canadians also do this. So they say it a bit differently, but they also have like this weird way of saying here. It's like weird on another level, because like here is not even like a complicated word. It's like it's really simple to say. It's not like even something that requires a specific like pronunciation or whatever. It's just like a word, and it's like this here always like threw me off. Or maybe this is like just a thing that you get after like training in the actor school of NASA or whatever. Maybe they like teach you this way and you are not even aware of this. Can be a thing. Yeah. If you know any more words that you say differently, let me know. I like those type of stuff. I find it kind of fascinating. Okay, I feel we made like a really good progress today. I feel this is like where I will stop the stream. I'm getting hungry, and like this fine-tuning of details is a little bit more taxing than I thought. And most likely because I am hungry and because I feel the progress we made on the ground especially is big enough for me to like be proud of my achievements today. So yeah, for the things that I definitely want to rework that are annoying for me, let me just circle them. Shortening words is like I would say a bit normal, but for the things that I want to rework, this area, this is no. Hello Martin, thanks. I kinda don't like this shape that something like this is happening. I feel like something like this should happen. That there will be a bit more of a break in the shape, so some like stuff like this needs to be done. And this should be a bit thinner. So thinner. And in the background I want like some bigger bones. So the background will be a bit more interesting. Stuff like this. And yeah, this will be the things that I will work next. And then I will also like render there the word. I didn't know I can like write sideways. This is the first time I have ever done this. Okay, thanks for watching, and for the hours to completion, around I would say 5 with me talking and kind of like messing around in Photoshop and showing stuff with animation and everything, from 5 to like 20. I have no idea how to animate this guy, so, and I want to animate him first before I place him anywhere in the web. So yeah, definitely I feel like 3 more streams should do the trick. And yeah, that's pretty much all. So yeah, see ya and have a nice day or whatever. Goodbye.